Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey with Clarita, the podcast where we will discuss valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Subscribe now to Begin, Build, Blossom, and let's embark on your business journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey. Today, we're excited to introduce you to an inspiring entrepreneur, Lois Frederick. For those of you who follow our spotlight segments, you would have seen her on there. So today, she's going to tell us a little bit more about her business journey. She's the founder of Nashba, a business that specializes in creating beautifully customized products tailored to each client's vision. From personalized designs to unique creations, Nashba is all about bringing individuality and creativity to life. In this episode, we will be chatting with Lois about her journey. Welcome, Lois. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here with you.
So am I. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So, persons, like I mentioned earlier, persons who've been following us would have heard you before when we spotlighted you back in December, or was that November? It was for the
Before
Christmas season. Yes. And for the ornaments, I did order from you, and the recipients of those ornaments, they've let me know how much they love it. They told me it was on their tree, and I'm sure they will be using it for many years to come. So thank
I'm
you
happy
so
to
much.
hear. You will.
All right. So we're going to start with a segment we call Rapid Fire, and it's a way to get to know you better. So let's get started with this. Can you give us 2 words that describe you? One that describes you now, and one that would have described you as a child.
Now, one word that would describe me is quiet, maybe. A lot of people who listen to this and know me will be like, no. But but I think I've changed. As a child, I think and it's a Creole word coming to my mind. As a child, the best word I think that would have described me, and my family will agree, is anafe. For our listeners who don't understand, how can I describe it? It's a child who's into everything. That's the best way that I can describe it, but that's the word that comes to mind.
Anafe. I'm trying to.
I don't know how to describe it in English, but
but I think you described it well.
Yeah, it's one of those children you can find doing any and everything.
So what's one? Okay, so people can better understand. What's one of those situations you can recall where you're like, "Mama, already enough, eh?"
I was just into everything. I wanted to do everything. I was dancing since I was 5. If the school had a pageant, an event, I was front and center. And now I'm happy to be behind the scenes. So I'm not an affair.
Okay, so you're still as involved, just from a different place.
Yes, from a different place, yes.
Okay.
But I was always in the front and happy to be in the front.
All right, nice. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us. And Creole, by the way, for those who don't know, is the second language we speak in St. Lucia. And it is one of the ways some things you say in Creole doesn't really come out the best in English. But if you understand it in Creole, you get it.
It's true.
Yes. What's the name of your business and what do you do in business?
So the name of my business is Nashba. And what we do have an array of things. We have two entities per se. So Nashba in itself started off with head wraps and handbags in African print, predominantly African print. And then we branched out to Occasions by Nashba, which is where the ornaments come in, and anything for any occasion is where you would get that one. But they're all under the Nashba, both under the Nashba umbrella.
Okay, great. And how long have you been in business?
I started somewhere around 2019, just, casually. And things got serious in 2020 during the pandemic. In the heart of the pandemic is when I really started getting business. But I've been doing this since around 2019, 2018, 2019.
And what's one of the best moments you've had in business so far?
So far, one of my best moments I remember was when I started the purses. I used to go to different events and have people buy. And one day I was walking in Williamsburg and a lady came up to me and said, "Are you Nashba?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "Oh my goodness, I have a purse from you. Somebody gave me." And I was like, "Oh my God." I felt like Louis Vuitton.
Oh, I love that. That's wow. How did you feel?
I felt great. I tell you, I felt like Louis Vuitton. Like,
yes,
oh my
you
goodness.
did tell me. That's amazing.
That somebody recognized me and I had no idea who she was.
Oh wow, that's great. And where did you say that was?
I was working in Williamsburg.
And is that in Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn, yes.
Okay, so we're referring to Brooklyn. New York.
Brooklyn, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, yes. And it was another St. Lucian lady who had apparently received a bag as a present, but it was from me. So she recognized me.
That's great. And do you have a moment that's probably the opposite of that? One that consider maybe one of the lowest moments in business so far?
It's not really in business. It's just in my journey. One of my lowest moments was I'm self-taught. I taught myself to sew. I did not know how to sew before. And I had decided that I was tired of doing YouTube videos and I wanted to do an actual class. So I went into this store called Mood in Manhattan. They gave sewing classes and I went in there and it just like I went to do the class and I was excited because it was being taught by a guy from Project Runway. So I was very excited to go to attend the class. And I walked in there and it seemed like everybody else was a professional. Like I felt like I had walked into Project Runway and I had no idea what I was doing. So we were doing the straight stitch and my stitch was curvy. Like I had a zigzag stitch that I didn't intend to do. And I walked out of the class just in tears because I was like, I'm very hard on myself. And I just walked out of the class like, I can't do this. I can't. Because everybody else had like, such a perfect straight stitch. And it was the first day everybody had such a perfect straight stitch and then I was all. So that's one of my lowest points that I remember in the journey to the business.
Okay.
But we're here now.
And did you end up going back to that class?
I did, because I wanted to continue.
Yeah. And how did the rest of the class go?
The rest of the class went well. Eventually, my aunt can sew, and she had always tried to encourage me to try. So I called her and, lamented that I had no idea what I was doing. And she encouraged me to not give up and go back. And then, I always leaned on her for advice on what should I do next. And here we are.
Okay, great. Well, I'm really glad that you went back. And do you think you'll probably do one of those classes again?
I will. Now that I know what I'm doing, I think now I can do an advanced and not a basic.
Well, wow. I love the attitude. I love how much you're so much more confident in that.
Yes.
So sounds like somebody who's been putting in a lot of work. So that's great.
Definitely.
All right. And is there a movie or a book that you'd recommend?
A book that I would recommend. I like a lot of those self-help kind of books. Iyanla Vanzant is one of my favorite authors and just personalities. And she has, I'm sorry, I'm going to cheat. She has 2 books that I could recommend.
That's okay.
So there's Yesterday I Cried. It's all about her life and the things that she's been through. And it's just such a great success story of a woman who came from nothing to being such an icon in the world. And then there's another one called One Day My Soul Just Opened Up. Those are my two favorite books from him.
That's quite a title there. I mean, I know I could go read up on it, but do you mind telling me a little bit about that?
One Day My Soul Just Opened Up is actually a self-help journal. So it's every day, 30 days, just self-help. It has little tips. It has prayers that you do every day. And it really, really, really is a game changer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm sure some people are already looking it up as they listen. So I can't wait to check it out. Okay, so we're going to move on to the begin segment. And here we like to just go back to where this all began for you. Can you just tell us if do you remember when you thought, okay, I am going to have my own business?
So I always wanted to have my own business. I'm not a morning person, and I hate waking up in the morning and going to somebody else's business. So I always wanted to, be on my own time, do things on my own time. I didn't think to start a business. I moved to the US about 10 years ago, and I came over looking for a job, and it was hard to find a job. And I really, really like pussies. My mother finds this story very funny, but I really, really like pussies. And I would always buy pussies. And she would always side-eye me and be like, do you really need those? And I always thought, yes, I did. So what I started doing when I decided to learn to sew, I decided that I was going to learn to make purses. That way, I could sell some and then keep the rest. So she wouldn't side-eye. So that is how it started for a very selfish reason. I just needed to make purses to go with my outfits. And I wanted her to, I needed purses to go with my outfits, and I needed her to stop side-eyeing me about having so many. So I started doing it for myself. And then I was like, yeah, mommy, this one didn't sell, so I just keep it.
I like how you solve so many problems
with one idea.
Yeah, one idea, and there we go. Solve many things all at once. And what about your upbringing? Would you say led to where you are today?
I was always encouraged to go for whatever I wanted to do. I've always been encouraged to try new things. I've never been told you can't do that. My family is very, very encouraging. There's this song by Corinne Dubois that says, Father, you bless me. Nothing can stress me. I was born in so much love. Thank you, mommy. So I always change it to thank you, family, because it's I was born in an extended family. And I tell people that I would come home and say, I think I'm going to make garbage bags. Like at any age in my upbringing. And everyone would be like, that's a great idea. Maybe you should go to the hardware store. Do you want to make it in pink? Try it in orange. That's how I grew up.
Wow, that's so heartwarming. Oh, that's what I want for my daughter. To be
just able have to encourage her.
Yeah, because sometimes, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people have the opposite experience where it's like
a lot of people
or like,
exactly.
What are you thinking of?
That makes no sense. Exactly. That makes absolutely no sense. So you can't sing, you can't dance.
Right. So a lot of people are used to the ideas being shut down. So it's great to have that kind of support where you have an idea, and instead of saying it's not possible, like, okay, how can we make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I love that for you. And I'm guessing that still continues, right?
Most definitely.
All right. And once you decided to have that, what steps did you take?
So I had to figure out how to navigate selling in, such a big place. Remember, I'm coming from a 238 square mile island with 180,000 people, and you're probably going to market to maybe 1,000 of them, if that was the mentality I had. And here I am in such a big world. Everybody can be a client. So I had to figure out how to navigate, first register, obviously, and then figure how I'm going to get clients from there. So I started out on Etsy.com, and then we took it from there. I started doing pop-up events, like just pop-up shops and anything that asked for vendors. I joined vendor groups on Facebook, and anything that asked for a vendor or was offering a table, I would sign up for it. And that's how I built my clientele and realized where my target audience, who my target audience was at first, and where they were. So that was the journey I took to.
Great. Wow. Can you tell us a little bit more about the pop-up events? So I'm guessing you hear about them, you contact them, and then what?
You hear about them, you contact them, and then you pay for your table and you show up with your stuff. And they have somebody decides, okay, I'm going to have an event and just have vendors, and hopefully we market it enough that people come and shop with those vendors. So I've done like a high school event where they were doing a Christmas market, and the parents came, and kids were invited over to come and shop with us. I've done events where it was a domestic violence seminar, and they had vendors come over. I've done church events. Just any and everything.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Great. And in terms of actually getting, for instance, let's focus on the purses.
Mm-hmm.
You have an idea for the design. I guess you design it and then you basically create it. So what is the process there? And is it just you? Is it a team? How does that work?
It's just me. My team, actual production part of it. My sister, I call her my youth educator or something like that, because she'll say this does not look good on the Instagram. Don't put this on Facebook, because the youth seem to know more about that than the rest of us. My brother runs my website. So, but the production part is just me.
All right. So what does a production day look like for you?
So I don't like to cut and sew on the same day. I think it's tiring. So production day, the day before production day would see me measuring and cutting and pinning and the actual design. I can't draw designs, so all my designs are in my head. What I want to do on the post is in my head. So I will set it out like on the table or whatever. And then the next day is when I go in and actually just.
Oh, okay. Wow. And would you say it's like a whole day affair?
Definitely a whole day affair, yes.
Okay, all right.
I at some point my sister had put on a reminder on my phone so I could drink water.
Oh wow. Yes. Good sister, good.
Because I'm just sewing.
All right. So your clients, so it sounds like your clients come from when you attend events, people reach out to you as well. And what are the other ways that you get clients?
Word of mouth. Somebody told somebody and somebody else told somebody else. I feel a lot of my clients are from word of mouth. A reference, somebody said you can do this and you can do that. So a lot of them come from references as opposed to events. Unless I'm doing a solution event.
All right. And I guess also when you're walking around with your beautiful purses on, right?
Well, yes.
So advertising the product that way is great.
Yes.
And can you tell us the story behind your name?
Nashba?
The name of your business, sorry.
So Nashba actually is my middle name. When I decided, because the business was started off with like African prints, I wanted something that represented that. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know that it's very African, but it sounded African enough.
Okay.
And I wanted it to be me as well. So I was like, this is perfect.
Wow.
Here we are.
Okay.
So the name is really and truly to my parents.
Okay.
Thanks, mom and dad.
All right. So that takes us to the build segment. And here I would like to cover things like, let's see. The first thing we'd like to know is, what's the boldest move you've made since starting your business?
Actually going out and selling at events. So the very first event I did, I had no idea what I was doing. I just showed up and it seems now, embarrassing to say, but I had no float. Like I had no change. I had no bags to put the customers' products when they when they bought them. It was just me with the things that I believed would sell. I don't even know that I was sure about them, but it was just me. It was a few purses. It was a St. Lucian Independence event. So it was a few purses, some St. Lucian t-shirts that I had painted, and I had started doing throw pillows in Madras. So I had brought that. And I remember one lady coming to my table and oohing and eyeing, and she said she wanted the person. And I said, "Excuse me, you want it?" She said, "Yes, how much is it?" And I remember making a price off the top of my head, honestly. And I gave it to her and she bought it, and I had to try to run for change because I was just so disorganized. And the lady next to me, selling next to me, kind of, helped me and told me you need this and you need that. So I think that was the boldest moment in my journey because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did it anyway, right? And I'm sure you've learned a lot since.
I have,
And
yes.
so, what does your setup look like now? What's
Now,
the Yeah,
my setup now and
how
my
have things changed?
things have definitely changed. One, I know now to not use plastic tablecloths from the dollar store. So
What
so
what
I
what happened there?
because it's folded, you see all the folds and it just doesn't look professional. It looks like you went to the store before you came to the event. Now I know that I have a, proper tablecloth, I have signage, I have the prices of my products are displayed. Display now and display years ago are totally different. Every once in a while I share my first display as my throwback.
Okay, but it's good to see where you started and where you are now. And by you sharing this, maybe that person who probably has been hesitant to try, now they just learn from your experience and they can go ahead and take that plunge, right? Okay, so what does networking look like for you? I know you mentioned a lot of events, so it sounds like you're out there quite a bit. But what other forms of networking do you take part in?
Usually just events. I have not branched out into networking in any other way. I just go to events and, give out my card, even if people don't purchase, but I'll give out my card and that's it for now.
Okay, and it sounds like you're also in groups on Facebook.
Yes, I
So
am.
yeah, that is pretty big too, right?
Yeah. The since COVID though, the groups have become less and less like you can rely on reliable. It's a lot of scammers in there. A few people have been scammed in groups, and that's why I left most of them. A few people were scammed with people saying they had events, and then you sent them money, and they didn't have. There were no events happening, so the groups have become less reliable for any kind of networking.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hmm. And I know we've talked about quite a lot of building in terms of like how you've progressed over the years, in terms of dealing with administration, accounting, and the things outside of what you started the business to do, right?
Mhm.
How do you handle those?
Those are all me. I take one day out of you know the week, 2 weeks, and I have to sit down and see where the money went, see what I'm doing. I have to put the client's paperwork together. So one day of the week is sometimes just admin and not production.
Ah, okay. So you have that one day where you do your admin. Well, it's great that you recognize that you need to do that. So I'm
Yes,
sure that makes a huge difference. So
it
yeah,
came later, but yes.
for sure. And as an accountant, I try to stress, the importance of doing that, making sure you take the time out to, even though it's an Excel sheet that you have, make sure that you're keeping track. And I mean, even for me in my personal life, I have to remind myself of that. So I totally get that. And when you have it all together, you can definitely see the difference. All right. And is there one struggle that you've had? We talked about that a little bit, some of the challenges that you've had, but is there one that you'd probably like to just expound on a little bit more? And maybe there's somebody out there listening who's probably facing the same challenge and they can learn from you based on how you handle it.
I think my one struggle, especially being an entrepreneur in, like I said, a place as big as well, we're in New York, but I'd like to expand to the United States at least. I think one of my biggest struggles is, coming out of the shell. I don't know where it came from this Anafego, but coming out of my shell and just, speaking on my business and putting myself out there and marketing. I think that is one of my biggest struggles. It's, one of those fake it till you make it kind of things I had to end up doing. It was a big challenge because, like I said, at this point in my life, I don't like to be on this side of the camera. I don't like to talk publicly, to tell people about my business. Even for the longest while I had started the business, I had started a Facebook page, was sharing it, and nobody knew it was me. They just thought that I had found a business with my name and I was sharing the stuff. So it was one day I was telling a friend of mine and he said, but you have to tell people it's yours for them to support you. So that has been one of my biggest challenges. Still is sometimes.
Okay. And since people know now that it's yours, have you seen a change?
Definitely. I have seen a change.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge because even for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing things and I want it to, I can see how it can help people, but I don't want to be the one out there.
Yeah.
Case in point, this podcast. I wanted so long to have a podcast. I had all these ideas, but I did not want to even put my face on camera. I'm like, okay, I could just do the voice, or even with my business. I'm like, how do I really have to say this is what I'm doing? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through coaching. And I also, like, for the podcast, in a sense, my editor was a bit of my coach, where he's like, okay, we need to do it this way. Let's try it with a camera this time. Like, my very first episode was literally just two black screens. And he said, that was good, but let's try it this time. Maybe there will be a different interaction between you and the guest. And I'm like, and I tried it and I said, oh, I like it.
Right.
So sometimes it's difficult to take those steps, but after you do it, you realize, it's not so bad.
Exactly.
Yes. So let's move to the Blossom segment. And if you can just tell us a little bit about how would you define success for you?
I think success for me is when I see, that people are happy with the product and they come back or they refer people. That's what success, at least in business, is for me. Yeah, just to be happy with what you're putting out and that people are happy. The target audience that you have is happy with what you're putting out.
So where do you see this going? For instance, you mentioned you think of New York, but you'd like to extend to the United States overall. So what are those plans like for you? You don't have to tell us details. I know back home you're like, don't tell people the stuff before it happens, right? But
Yeah.
just generally, what are the plans that you have in mind? Where do you see the business going?
I would really like to do retail, like to be in stores, especially with Black History Month being celebrated. I would really like, especially like the head wraps and stuff. I think they could do well in retail stores for Black History Month. So that is one of the plans in my head for the future.
Great, I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. And that takes us to the closeout segment. And here we'd like to ask about 3 practical tips you'd like to share with others listening to you now. Whether it be about starting the business, about just keeping it going, or just anything that you'd like to share on the business journey.
So my first tip is always don't give up. If you started, continue. We always listen to all the noise around us of, are you sure? But don't give up. My second tip is, I know people have this thing of, but so many other people are doing it. So why should I? And I remember reading this one meme once that said, and I always use this. There are so many people producing bread, like companies producing bread. You'd go to the supermarket and there are so many different brands making the same bread. It's always whole wheat, multigrain, white, butterloaf, whatever. And there are so many different companies making that. And sometimes you go to the supermarket and there's no bread. So that means it's selling. So definitely never think that the market is so saturated. Who's going to buy from me? And the last tip, I guess, is just keep going. And I guess that still is like, don't give up. But I think just don't listen to the noise. So many discouraging people around, just in life in general. So many people who discourage you with anything that you want to do. And I think it's just good to sometimes just forget the noise and keep it pushing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And part of what we're doing with the podcast is to create a community to bring people together, like guests and listeners. So we always like to ask, would you all be open to somebody listening to you right now to reach out?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. I'm always happy to help somebody else.
All right. And what are the best ways that we can reach you?
By phone, send a text, and then I can always, respond when I can. Do you want me to give my phone number?
Yes, yes.
So my phone number is 718-883-0496.
Okay. And what about your social media handles?
So my social media handles are at Nashba on Instagram, at Nashba Designs. There's also at Occasions by Nashba, and Facebook is just Nashba.
Okay. And we will be sure to include that in the show notes. So look there for those handles. We'll put it there for you. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a CME Accounting LLC podcast. Please subscribe and be on the lookout for our next episode. If you'd like to share any feedback with us, please email us at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com.